Have you ever wondered how the world got to be so unequal? How a handful of people and corporations ended up with more wealth than billions of others combined? It's not an accident. It's a story as old as civilization itself. A long, complex history of the powerful using their influence to profit from the less fortunate. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain and look at some of the major ways this has happened throughout history and continues to happen right now. This isn't about pointing fingers at individuals. It's about understanding the systems that have shaped our world. Let's start with one of the oldest and most brutal methods, war. For centuries, powerful nations haven't just fought for ideology or defense. They fought for resources. Think about it. Why invade a distant land? Often, it's because that land has something valuable. Gold, diamonds, oil, rubber, or even just fertile soil. Colonialism was the blueprint for this. European empires expanded across the globe, not to civilize the world, but to extract its wealth. They drew lines on maps, declared ownership of lands that weren't theirs, and took what they wanted. The British Empire in India, for example, systematically dismantled India's thriving textile industry to make way for its own manufactured goods. They taxed farmers heavily and siphoned immense wealth back to Britain. In Africa, colonial powers carved up the continent, exploiting its vast mineral and agricultural resources, while leaving behind a legacy of instability and poverty, that persist to this day. Congo Free State, under the personal rule of King Leopold II of Belgium, is a horrifying example where millions were brutalized in the quest for rubber and ivory. This isn't just ancient history. In the modern era, the justification for war has changed, but the underlying motives often haven't. Debates still rage about the role of oil in conflicts in the Middle East. When a powerful nation uses its military might to secure access to resources in a weaker country, it's a modern continuation of this age-old practice. The resources are taken, often without fair compensation. The local population suffers, and the profits flow to a select few in the invading country. The cost of war is paid in lives and devastation by the poor, while the benefits are reaped by the rich. But exploitation isn't always as loud as a battlefield. It's often quiet, creeping into our everyday lives through the actions of giant corporations. Let's talk about how big business can hollow out local economies. Imagine a small town with a vibrant main street. There's a family-owned grocery store, a local hardware shop, and a bookstore run by someone who knows every customer by name. These businesses are part of the community. They sponsor local sports teams. Their profits stay in the town, and they provide jobs for your neighbors. Then, a massive big box retailer decides to open on the outskirts of town. Because of its immense scale, it can negotiate lower prices from suppliers and sell goods cheaper than the local shops ever could. People, understandably, are drawn to the lower prices. Slowly but surely, the local grocery store can't compete. The hardware shop closes its doors. The bookstore is replaced by a coffee chain. The main street becomes a ghost of its former self. Where do the profits from this new megastore go? Not to the local community, but to distant shareholders and executives. The jobs it creates are often part-time, with lower wages and fewer benefits than the ones they replaced. This story has played out in thousands of towns across the world, while we, as consumers, get cheaper products. The long-term cost is the erosion of local economies, the loss of community identity, and a greater concentration of wealth in the hands of a few giant corporations. They aren't breaking the law. They're just playing a game that's rigged in their favor, using their size and power to squeeze out the little guy. This leads us to the third, and perhaps most personal, form of exploitation: wages. We hear about multi-billion-dollar companies posting record profits year after year. Their CEOs earn salaries that are hundreds, sometimes thousands of times larger than their average employees. Yet, at the same time, many of their workers struggle to make ends meet. They rely on food stamps, or work multiple jobs just to pay rent and put food on the table. This is the reality of slave wages in the 21st century. When a company that can afford to pay its workers a living wage chooses not to, it's a deliberate act of exploitation. They are maximizing their profits by minimizing their labor costs. The value that the workers create the products they make down, the services they provide funneled to the top, while the workers themselves receive only a fraction of that value, just enough to keep them coming back to work tomorrow. This isn't just a domestic issue. The problem is magnified on a global scale. Many of the clothes we wear, the phones in our pockets, and the toys our children play with are made in factories in developing countries. Their workers often face grueling hours, unsafe conditions, and wages so low they can barely survive. Giant corporations outsource their manufacturing to these places precisely because labor is cheap and regulations are weak. They can benefit from the low costs without being directly responsible for the poor conditions. They create a system where they are insulated from the human cost of their products. So while we enjoy affordable goods, we are often unknowingly participating in a system that keeps people trapped in a cycle of poverty. The company makes billions, the consumer gets a good deal, and the person who actually made the product can't afford a decent life. So, from the battlefields of history to the aisles of our local supermarket and the factories across the globe, a clear pattern emerges. Systems have been built to allow the powerful to profit from the labor and resources of the less powerful. It's a complex and often uncomfortable truth to confront. War for resources, corporate consolidation, and wage suppression are not separate issues. They are all branches of the same tree. A system that prioritizes profit and power over people and planet. Understanding this history is not about feeling guilty or hopeless. It's about empowerment. When we understand how these systems work, we can start to see them in our own lives. We can ask questions. Where do our products come from? Who benefits when a local business closes? What are the real costs of war? By being more conscious consumers, engaged citizens, and demanding more from our leaders and from corporations, we can start to push back, to support local businesses, advocate for fair wages, and demand transparency and ethical behavior from the companies we buy from. The world's inequality wasn't created overnight, and it won't be fixed overnight. But understanding is the first step toward change. Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive today. If this topic resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe for more content that challenges the way we see the world. And I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Let's keep this important conversation going. See you next time.